And America saw years of scandal at the VA. You remember those days. It shocked the conscience of the nation. Veterans were literally dying while they waited for medical treatment that they had earned in the uniform of the United States. But all of that changed. As you know, here in this state that was battle-born, home to more than 200,000 veterans. Under President Trump's leadership, we've signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in history, and Veterans Choice is now available for every veteran in America. Would all the veterans who are with us today either stand or raise your hand if you're able? Just give us a chance to say thank you one more time for your service to America. Thank you for your service. So it's been about security. It's been about supporting our veterans. And in our first 3 years, it was about three more things. It was about jobs, jobs, jobs. Where Joe Biden wants to raise taxes, President Donald Trump in our first 3 years cut taxes across the board, rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created more than 7 million good-paying jobs, including 115,000 jobs right here in the Silver State. Wages rose across the board, fastest pace in 10 years, and they rose most rapidly for hard-working, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. And here in the home of the legendary Hoover Dam, I'm proud to report that we've unleashed American energy like never before, and under the President's leadership. At a time when you hear the other side talking about abolishing fossil fuels, about banning fracking, they got their $2 trillion version of the Green New Deal. Under President Donald Trump, America's become a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. We're energy independent, Nevada. And we're going to keep it that way with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. So we've stood for our national defense, our veterans, our jobs, and American energy. And President Donald Trump has stood for the rule of law every single day. This president has already seen appointed to our federal courts more than 215 conservative judges, including Justice Neil Gorsuch and Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And I can tell you, they're all men and women who will uphold all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, last month, our nation paused rightly to honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Donald Trump fulfilled his constitutional duty when he nominated a principled conservative woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And I can tell you, I'm a fan of Judge Barrett, and not just because she's from Indiana. Judge Amy Coney Barrett is a principled conservative who has an inspiring personal story. She comes from the heartland, and she'll bring that commitment to our Constitution, to interpret laws as written, to not legislate to the bench, to the Supreme Court of the United States. So after the Senate does their part with hearings coming up early next week, their part to advise and consent, I know that Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be Justice Amy Coney Barrett, because Nevada, we're going to fill that seat. So we've stood for the rule of law, strengthened the conservative foundation underpinning our Constitution and our courts. And President Donald Trump has stood every day with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement, and we always will. President Donald Trump and I know that the men and women who serve in law enforcement around this country are the best people in America, and they deserve the respect of every American every single day. Now, the President and I will always respect the constitutional right of Americans to peaceful protest. But as I said last night, rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Violence against innocent civilians and law enforcement will not be tolerated, and those who do these things will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, for months, all Joe Biden ever talked about was peaceful protests, remember? As the American people literally watched their businesses and communities burn. Last night I was joined by a Minneapolis native, a wonderful African-American businesswoman named Flora Westbrook. She traveled with us to Utah. She told us the story when I was in Minneapolis a few weeks ago about, in the wake of the killing of George Floyd, how the protesters came closer and closer to her salon that she had built 35 years ago. And then they burned it to the ground. You know, the truth of the matter is, Joe Biden would double down on the very policies that have led to violence in America's cities. When you suggest that you're going to reduce support for those who serve and protect, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families. And worse still, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris believe that America is systemically racist. And as she said again last night, they believe that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, he said, quote, "Yes, absolutely." And let me make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we will always back the blue. We're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever. President Trump and I know we don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African-American neighbors. Under this president, we have done both for the last 3.5 years, and we're going to continue to support law enforcement and improve the lives, the jobs, the education, and the opportunities for African Americans and all of our minorities for 4 more years. Under this president, we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. You know, it's amazing to think all that we accomplished under this president in those first 3 years. They were years that we had a Republican majority in the United States House and Senate. So right after we make sure we got 4 more years of President Donald Trump, we got to make sure that Big Dan, Rodimer, and Jim Marchant are sent to Congress in a new Republican majority that retires Nancy Pelosi once and for all. So we rebuilt our military, we revived our economy, we stood for life and our liberties and law and order in our first 3 years. In a word, we made America great again. And then the coronavirus struck from China. But as I said last night, before there were more than 5 cases of coronavirus in the United States of America, President Donald Trump put the health of America first and did what no other American president had ever done. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Joe Biden criticized it. He said it was hysterical and xenophobic. But I can assure you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force, President Trump's decision that day alone saved countless American lives, and it allowed us to stand up the largest national mobilization since World War II. We reinvented testing. We saw to the manufacture and delivery of hundreds of millions of medical supplies to our incredible doctors and nurses. We've developed medicines that are literally saving lives. And as we stand here today, we're on track to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year. And let me just say on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and support for both of them over this past week. I spoke to the President this morning. He's back to the White House, and he and the First Lady are doing great. The medical care that they received, the medicines that they received are all a part of the national response that we've made available to people all across this country. And the outpouring of concern for our President and our First Lady was emblematic of the love and the concern and care that the American people have shown to neighbors and family members and friends and absolute strangers. So would you join me in just thanking all of the amazing healthcare workers who served our nation through this challenging time, and all those who cared for those who suffered loss and struggle. So we're slowing the spread, we're protecting the vulnerable, and we'll keep saving lives. And we're opening up America again. You know, with the strong foundation this President poured in our first 3 years, with the unprecedented relief that we secured from the Congress for families and for businesses, that actually literally saved 50 million jobs. Where we lost 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, we've already added 11.6 million jobs back to work, including 150,000 people back to work right here in the Silver State. The American comeback is on. We're opening up America, and we're opening up America's schools. Just last week, the President announced that we're distributing 100 million rapid point-of-care tests to states across the country to get our schools open, to keep our schools open, and keep our kids safe. So we've gone through a time of testing. But I came here today to say that in 26 days, we're coming to a time for choosing. And the choice in this election has never been clearer. The stakes have never been higher. It's amazing to think in the middle of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. You heard his running mate, Kamala Harris, say last night that they were going to only raise taxes on certain Americans, but Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that on day one he was going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. I mean, the truth of the matter is President Donald Trump cut taxes across the board. It gave middle-class families a $2,000 tax break. It increased income and wages by $4,000, and we're going to keep cutting taxes for the middle class for 4 more years. Joe Biden wants to bury our economy under an avalanche of red tape, including his own version of the Green New Deal, which is a whole lot like AOC's version of the Green New Deal. President Trump, he's actually overseen the largest investment in public lands and our national parks in American history, the cleanest air and land in our history, the cleanest water in the world, and we've cut federal red tape and unleashed American energy all at the same time. We're going to keep doing it for 4 more years. Joe Biden is for open borders, sanctuary cities, free lawyers, and free health care for illegal immigrants. President Donald Trump, he kept the promises he made to the people of Nevada. We made record investments in border security. Mexico is doing more to secure their southern border and ours than ever before. And we've already built more than 300 miles of that border wall on the southern border of the United States. And with 4 more years, we're going to build it all. And when it comes to jobs and trade, the contrast couldn't be more clear. Under Joe Biden, his 47 years in Washington, D.C., we saw deals like NAFTA. You know, in the wake of NAFTA being signed into law in 1995, 60,000 factories closed, and many of those jobs went south of the border and overseas. And Joe Biden never lifted a finger to reform NAFTA. But thanks to the man who wrote The Art of the Deal, America got a better deal. NAFTA is gone, and the USMCA is here to stay. It's a huge win for American jobs and American workers. And where Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for Communist China every day, actually said it was a positive development to see the rise of China, to see China literally be half of our international trade deficit. From day one, President Donald Trump put China on notice that the era of economic surrender is over. And we're going to stand strong with China until they open their markets, respect American private property rights, and put American jobs and American workers the respect they deserve. So it's been about security and prosperity, but as I said earlier, it's also been about our most cherished values. I mean, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democratic Party actually support late-term abortion. And Joe Biden wants to use taxpayer dollars to pay for abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. And I tell you, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. And we will keep standing for life for 4 more years. You know, when you look at their agenda, it's clear. I said this at Fort McHenry. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden has said that democracy is on the ballot on November 3rd. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. Law and order are on the ballot. But I also think there are things much more foundational, much more fundamental to our country. In this election, I don't think it's going to be whether America ends up more Republican or more Democrat, whether we end up more liberal or more conservative, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. It's whether we're going to chart a course based on our highest ideals of faith and family and freedom and patriotism and the American flag and the Constitution of the United States, or whether we're going to abandon that path and allow the radical left and Joe Biden and the Democratic Party to take our nation somewhere it's never been before. So let me say today to all of you, standing here in the blazing sun of Nevada, for our freedom, for all the ideals that have always made America great and are making America great again, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States of America. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. You know, you're right. 4 more years means more jobs. 4 more years means more judges. 4 more years means more support for our troops and law enforcement. And it's going to take at least 4 more years to drain that swamp. You know, I've served around this president every day for the last 3.5 years. And we've gotten to be very close friends. I've seen him when the cameras are off. And I'll tell you what, Nevada, there's never been a day gone by when President Donald Trump hasn't gotten up and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of Nevada. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on. So I need you to bring it. I need you to bring it. And not just you, but all of hundreds of people that were out on the road when I rolled in today. And freedom-loving people all across the Silver State. I want you to keep voicing your support. Talk to your neighbors and friends at work and at worship about all that we've done in the last 3 years, about the way this president has led us through this challenging year and all that we have yet to do. Go tell the American people that the choice we face, and remind the American people the choice is in their hands. And when you do have faith, have faith. You know, I honestly believe a careful study of American history shows every time the American people have been given a clear choice between a future of more freedom and less freedom, they choose more freedom every single time. So go out and talk to your neighbors and friends and have faith that if we present the cause of freedom to them in this election, that they'll stand with us. And if you're of a mind to exercise that other kind of faith in the next 26 days, I encourage you to do that too. I truly do. I mean, this is a challenging time in the life of our nation. It seems anymore like if you turn on the television, it's like that little girl asked me last night. It seems like it looks like there's more that divides us in America than unites us. But I've traveled all across this country over the last 3.5 years, and I can tell you, there will always be more that unites the people of this great nation than could ever divide us, and chief among those things is faith. This is a nation of faith. And so if you're a person of faith, I encourage you to claim those ancient words that Americans have clung to through much more challenging times than we could even imagine. That if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray, he'll do like he's always done in the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land. This one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. It'll make a difference. Thank you. But thank you for this especially warm welcome. It's really great to be in Nevada, but Karen and I have a plane to catch. We're headed to Arizona, and then we're back to Washington, D.C., and I guarantee you President Donald Trump is going to be back on the campaign trail before you know it. We're going to take this case to the American people every day. And I just know, with your continued support, every day between now and November 3rd, we're going to make Nevada and America stronger than ever before. We're going to make Nevada and America more prosperous than ever before. And with Jim Marchant and Big Dan Rotheimer in a new Republican majority in the United States House of Representatives, with a renewed Republican majority in the United States Senate, and with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we will make America great again. Again. So thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America.